Okay, everybody, we're going to get started in a second. We're up on YouTube now. All set, Madam Administrator? All righty, so we're going to call the meeting to order. We're on to round 1, 2, 3, 4, somewhere along those lines. We're going into the Transportation Subcommittee and starting with the Department of Motor Vehicles. Commissioner, the floor is yours. Do you want to just give us a brief overview of your testimony?
Sure. First of all, good afternoon, Senator and members of the Appropriations Committee. I know your time is very valuable. You have a busy schedule during this short session. Let me just say, on behalf of myself and the entire DMV team, we are so appreciative of all the support you have given this agency, and we hope that you've seen the enormous amount of improvements that we have done over the years and the constituents that we represent out there, that the experience has been a game changer. And that's all because of this administration, this Appropriations Committee, and the legislature for making sure that we have the proper funds to do that. So with that said, I'll turn it over for any questions because I know you're on a tight schedule.
Thank you very much. I personally have seen such a dramatic change in the Department of Motor Vehicles since you have been there that it's really wonderful to see. Whenever we have a constituent problem, your team is very responsive to help out with constituents, and I think that that's really important. And most people, and it's not to say that somebody's not going to run across something that they don't like, but most people say the Department of Motor Vehicles is a much better place to go to these days than it used to be. So I appreciate what you do. Does anybody have any questions? Representative Rosario?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner. Thank you for coming here, and good afternoon. First and foremost, I want to say I've been here for 6 terms. I've been on this subcommittee for each and every year of these terms, and I've seen the exponential growth of the Department of Motor Vehicles, especially under your leadership, Commissioner. And when I travel the country, various organizations, I actually can brag about the services that we provide. We're one of the best in the country, I believe, our Department of Motor Vehicles, and I don't think many people can say that. So it's kudos to you and your staff. And secondly, you know, every time I've utilized the services of the Department of Motor Vehicle just as a civilian, I'm not saying I'm a state representative. I go on, file my appointment. I'm in and out of there in 15 minutes. So kudos to you and your staff. I do have a question on the modernization, especially, you know, with what specific milestones are you looking to complete in F26 and 27? Specifically, I've noticed that we've been talking about Apple Pay and more mobile options to purchase services. Are we looking, is there a specific rollout? Many of our institutions, whether you go to a sports game or a concert, they're all cashless and they're all mobile. Is that something that we're looking to completely roll out?
Well, first of all, let me start off by thank you for those kind words. How are you, Representative Walker? Nice to see you. For those kind words, Representative Rosario. But I do want to make sure that it's clear here that I could not do my job without a wonderful team and the people that are behind the windows at the DMV that work extremely hard every single day to make sure constituents are taken care of with a smile and they walk away with a successful transaction. So I want to make sure that is very, very clear. Second, in regards to modernization, as you know, we have gone leaps and bounds in regards to the Department of Motor Vehicles. In fact, we're one of the leaders now in the United States. We get calls from other DMVs throughout the United States in regards to what we have done and so forth. We are embarking on a state-to-state project as we speak. And what that does, Representative Rosario, it connects with every single DMV office to make sure that if Representative Rosario was to get a license in Texas, we would know within a second that that information is wrong because Representative Rosario already had a license in Connecticut and he cannot get a duplicate in Texas unless he hands that license in. That is invaluable information that we are doing. We should have, that should be up and running probably by end of 27, early 28. But that is a major milestone for us to change over our systems. In regards to mobile identification, we are working diligently on that. I should have hopefully some good news in the near future here with that. In regards to Apple Pay, we're always looking at something that we can make it easier for our constituents, right? I know that one of your big concerns was the credit card machines, and we right away jumped all over that to make sure that that happens, right? And I promise you that we will always look to see what we can do to make it easier for people to do transactions. I can't tell you, the amount of transactions that we do online and the amount of monies that we, as an agency, folks, that we, as DMV, take in, that goes into that special transportation fund is unbelievable, all right? And that's because nonstop, whether it's walk-ins, whether it's appointments, or online transactions.
I have, Madam Chair, just two more things for the subcommittee work, for the working group. Where are we in compliance in terms of Real ID? How many residents are still not in compliance with Real ID? And secondly, I know there were some issues in the news recently of legislative plates getting Easy Pass in other states. I know there were some legislators involved. Has that issue been rectified? And if that's something that, how many people are not in compliance on that end? And we want to make sure that the proper people that use those plates and that they pay those bills.
Absolutely. And I will get you that information for you during our working group. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one question on, just related to the licenses. Are we going to be able to implement a digital driver's license and state ID in the Apple Wallet for Connecticut residents?
It is, thank you for that question, Senator. We are working on something as we speak, and I'm hoping that within the near future, we'll have some good news for everyone.
Great. Representative Reyes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Would like to also follow the compliments of Representative Rosario. I'm extremely pleased with the improvements at the Waterbury branch. And it's not just me saying it, I'm hearing it from my constituents. But I do have a Real ID today because of the fast turnaround service, so I'm not paying $45 at the airport because I don't have a Real ID. So, but what I wanted to talk about was the immigrant license, the non-citizen license. Would like to know, like to see. We could take this also into the subcommittee work, but I'd like to know what the year-to-date was last year and the last couple years. So 23, 24, 25 total, and what the running total was since we put it into law.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So I kind of messed up the order, but I have Representative Nuccio, Representative Belinsky, and Representative Kennedy in that order.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. Quick question on your OE. Tony's not here, Representative Walker is not here to ask, but she's been asking everybody, I'm going to ask in her place. If you could, for the work group, send us a list of all of the different things that you're paying for in your OE, especially if there's any kind of like programs or anything like that.
Okay.
And then my question also is in regard to the DMV modernization, the $3 million that's in there right now. You've got $3 million each year. I know we talked about the digital wallets and all of that other stuff, but what exactly are you spending that money on?
Sure.
Like, what is you have $3 million in each year, so where are we, how is that spend, and what does it look like in the next year or two?
Okay. Do you want that in the working group, or you want me to, I can help answer it now, whatever you'd like.
If you have a high-level answer now, that'd be
Sure.
good, and then if you have more detail, we could do it in the work group.
Okay.
Okay.
And just at a high level, again, we are always modernizing, whether we're putting more transactions online, modernizing the equipment to make sure it's easier for our constituents to do transactions. So unfortunately, as we all know, in the world of technology, that 5 years goes by pretty quick. Next thing you know, you got to update it all over again to move on to the future of what happens out there. But that is the basis of what we use that money for, is always trying to upgrade our technology, whether it's our systems, whether it's transactions to move to the systems, or whether it's the mobile ID or whatever it is, that's what we're using it for.
Okay, that's mine too for now. Hopefully
Thank you,
somebody asks
Representative.
about the other as well.
Representative Bolinsky, please. Apologize for not getting you right away.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually don't have anything original to say because it's been covered by Representative Rosario and the good chair. I just wanted to say thank you. I haven't heard, I haven't gotten an angry DMV call, really since the pandemic, with the exception of the toll thing. But I'm told that you have a solution to that, and I'm looking forward to learning about it. And by the way, I am one of the people that pays the toll of an individual who gets on at Sturbridge and gets off at Worcester. It only happens twice or three times a month, so he's probably not a resident. He's probably a visitor, but he's going somewhere the same place all the time. And he's got a 106 in his plate. So thank you, sir, for your team, because our liaison is fantastic. Phone call, done.
Excellent. Thank you, Representative.
Representative Kennedy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Commissioner, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. All the kudos have been said to you, so thank you for all you do. With all the modernization that you're doing and everything, which is wonderful, and like you said, it's just changing all the time. I noticed that you spend about $1.6 million in your postage. Are you still at that level? And could you just provide, is
Yeah.
it certified letters that are going? Could you just give some more details on that, please, through you, Madam Chair?
Representative Kennedy, thank you for that question. It is a lot of money, right? But again, the amount of people that we generate mail to. This is an agency, if really that, when I used to sit in your seats, that I would look at it at that time, did not understand the enormous amount of work that this agency does and how many people, no matter what happens, I found out that you may not ever use another agency, but you will always use the DMV, whether it's for licensing, registration, whether it's for vessels, for trucks, businesses, you name it. If it's on our roadways, we touch it. And that's where a lot of it goes. Now, we're trying to modernize that system too, all right? And as we move, we're looking for a new building, and that's part of the process too. When we go there, how we can modernize the mail system to reduce the cost, because as you know, I'm very conservative when I make sure that we're not spending money where we don't have to make sure that we get whatever we're getting, our biggest bang for our buck.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Madam Chair, if I may, one other question. Regarding the vehicle valuations, there was a change in your contract recently. If you could elaborate, I think you went from like $80,000 to like $500,000. Is that a one-year contract? Is that several years?
I believe.
It was previously a 10-year contract, as I
Are
understand it.
you talking about the NADA that the municipalities had? Representative?
It's the valuation probably for your vehicles, is my understanding.
I don't think it's him. I think it was.
It was.
It
apologize.
wasn't DMV.
Right.
It was, we changed the valuation.
The MSRP,
Yeah.
right,
They
okay,
changed
and that
it, yeah.
impact.
That wasn't him.
That was not, okay, I apologize, thank you so
No, no
much.
problem.
Thank you,
No.
Madam Chair.
Is
I
that-
want ownership of that.
No,
Because that'll change all of our remarks.
Oh, yeah.
Senator Hartley.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and welcome, Commissioner. Yes, I have to join with my colleagues in kudos to DMV. You have changed the face. DMV is, I guess, analogous to the maternity ward in hospitals. It's the face of state government, and everybody has to go there, whether they're doing it, online or in person. And so you have a lot on your shoulders and have carried it so well. But I wanted to just ask you, if I could, Commissioner, the welcome stations, they are under your purview?
Yes.
Yes. And how many do we have, sir?
We've got, I believe, was it 3? The way stations? The way stations you're
No,
talking about?
I'm talking welcome, the welcome.
Oh, no, welcome is not us.
That's not, that's
That's
DOT.
DOT. I thought you said the
Okay.
way
Oh, you are way stations?
Right.
Oh, okay, and there are 3 in the state, okay.
5 total in the state.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then I noticed those are close, I mean, what's the schedule there? Because every time I go by them, I see that they're closed.
Well, they're usually during the day.
Yeah.
Running from the hours from 6 a.m. up to 3 to 4 p.m. during
And on
day.
the weekend?
And on the weekends, depending on overtime, they will be open too.
Uh-huh, okay. And with that, can you just comment, where are you in regards to your overtime?
I'm sorry, I can't.
The overtime, how is the department doing?
I can get, you want me to get you that number?
Well, if you have it just handy, otherwise we can talk about it. And so-
I'm sorry?
To the-
I'll bring it to you at the working group.
Okay, yeah,
Senator.
because we've been looking at that in all of the departments, and I know that with your caseload and covering all of the DMV stations, that, you know, that has been an important part of your budget. That would be helpful. Thanks,
got it.
Commissioner. I appreciate it. Thank
No
you,
problem.
Madam
Thank you,
Chair.
Senator.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Nobody online? Commissioner, you're all set.
Thank you.
You are the quickest agency of all. Up next is Commissioner Euclid. I don't know if you're going to get off that easy, but Commissioner, do you want to do a quick overview, and then we'll go into questions?
Absolutely. So, good afternoon, Gary Euclido, Commissioner of Transportation. With me is Gary Pesco-Solido, our Bureau Chief of Finance Administration. So this year's fiscal year 27 recommended budget adjustments from Governor Lamont are not significant changes on our end. They have some adjustments to account for a slight adjustment on equipment, to adjustments on the passenger rail side, adjustment on UPass fees, but in all, there's no adjustments to PS or other major line items. Largely, it's all just cost of living adjustments, essentially, for our operations. So minor adjustments to account for inflationary factors.
Thank you. You know, we've had a winter, not a mild winter, but a real winter. And there was an article in the paper the other day down in my neck of the woods, and I had actually talked to you about this. Where do we stand on salt and I don't think you use sand anymore, but products, not just for you, but are you hearing from municipalities with a shortage? So.
Yes, so we recently did receive additional shipments in for our agency. We have, multiple salt sheds across the state at our 70-plus facilities, so we had to rebalance and move salt in between different garages and different sheds. We did hear from multiple municipalities who were requesting assistance. We were not able to provide any of our supply because we saw the forecast of potential storms in the future, and we had to save it for the interstates and the limited access highways. But what we did do was we helped compile a list of all the suppliers in state and in the near boundaries outside our state who had adequate supply where they could sell it to municipalities. And we provided them with the list of those suppliers and the contact information, and we tried to help make those connections for them if their existing supplier was out. So we helped connect all the municipalities with someone. So we continue to offer that assistance where possible. But right now we have about 70,000 tons, yep. Right? So we're in a good shape to last a couple more storms that might come. What we have seen is, even putting aside the big storm we had, some of the smaller storms continue to use supplies because there may be icing occurring, and we have to put down some treatment to address the icing. So it's not just big storms that use up that supply, as any municipal official will tell you. It's also those small ones where you have to go out and tack that ice.
Well, last night was a small storm,
Yeah.
but icy.
Yes.
They were out at 3 in the morning as I watched them go up and down the highway. Why I was awake at 3 in the morning is another discussion that we don't need to even get into. I just heard them going by. I said, oh, another storm. What time do I have to leave my house in the morning to make sure I get up here on time? So, and I also want to thank you publicly for helping out. I got a call from somebody in the town of Lebanon with some roads that they felt were unsafe. And I appreciate you taking the text. I have no problem calling one of the garages, but if you want us to do that, but it was really helpful and they were very grateful for that. It makes a big difference in someone that state government is responsive to their needs, and I really appreciate that. I can tell you I can call the Occam garage and they come out anytime, so I'm really lucky that I have that connection, and that's from my prior life, and those folks are just fantastic. And the guys that are working in the garages, I know they're out late right now doing a lot of work, and I really appreciate the guys that are doing that work. It's really, really helpful.
Absolutely.
I know that there are going to be people that have a lot of questions, and I was curious on the rail ridership stats. There's a large increase given the fare increases built into the budget. Do we know what that's about?
You mean a large appropriations request increase?
Yep.
So that is a combination of, as federal funding that was provided right in the medium aftermath of COVID, that continues to decrease. We continue to draw that down. We've been very careful to try and extend it as long as possible. So as that dries up, we are, backfilling that gap in operations with state appropriations. So next year there'll be a bigger gap as we use up the remainder of all those federal COVID funds. But so this is one step towards the complete drawdown of those federal funds.
And thank you. And Shoreline East is always important to anybody who lives in the eastern part of the state. We'd like to see it increase both in the amount of stops that are available and and with a larger appropriation. So we hear that they have that it costs more per rider on Shoreline East, but I would posit that we put money into some of the other branch lines that allowed them to build up. And if we don't have money in it to build it up, then it is going to cost more. But I don't think that that's something that we shouldn't expect. And so when we say, yes, it costs more here, so we shouldn't do it, that if we had said that for every branch line, we wouldn't have done all the work that we've done to build up the other branch lines. And I think that that's an unfair comparison based on the fact that we haven't built up our dollars to where they were pre-COVID.
Yeah, no, I understand, the concerns of riders on Shoreline East. I do think, the addition of the trains that were added in the most recent budget, including the through trains to Stamford, I think does help provide, additional options. What we also are doing is we're taking a look, we're calling it a clean slate proposal for rail, where we're looking at all of the equipment and all of the slots available to be able to use the tracks and take a fresh look at should we reposition the scheduling concept around a different commutation pattern, because we rebuilt the service after COVID based on the traditional, okay, people are going to go in 5 days a week and this is what their commute pattern is going to be like. We know that's not happening on Shoreline East, where the ridership's actually higher on Fridays and Mondays as opposed to midweek, which is the opposite of what you see on the Waterbury branch or the New Haven line. So it's a different type of commuter. So we are starting the process to do a complete clean slate look of the New Haven line, the Shoreline East, and the Hartford line. If we were to start a new railroad from scratch, what would that service look like based on who lives there and who could use the system? And so that would provide us with some new concepts to maybe use the equipment we have in a different pattern to provide more service at no additional or incremental cost.
Thank you for that. So I have Representative Rosario, followed by Representative Nuccio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioner. I do want to start with a compliment, a brief story. A little over 6 weeks ago, I was traveling with my son. We were leaving the sunny shores of Puerto Rico and landing at Bradley in the middle of a snowstorm. Not the most ideal time to be driving home in the middle of a snowstorm, but when I tell you that drive from Windsor Locks all the way to Bridgeport, your team was out in full force. The roads were clear, and it was very heavy precipitation all the way down 91 to the Merritt, all the way back home Route 8 in Bridgeport. I saw your plows. They were out. Our roads were clear. So I want to say thank you, and thank you to the workers for the work that you do, not only on that snowstorm, but each and every one that you guys handle. So I want to express my thanks. My first question is, based on the fare increases, is there a projected ridership loss that we're looking at in the future? And I have two more that are more for the work group.
So for the fare increases that were incorporated this past year, Metro North is not anticipating any ridership loss. Their analysis views the fare increase was small enough on the rail side to be elastic for the demand on the railroad side, and especially for people that are commuting just within Connecticut and not going into Grand Central. It's an even smaller increase because the fare product is much lower than if you go into Grand Central. It's a higher cost. But if you were to go between Fairfield or to Bridgeport and Stamford or to Bridgeport and New Haven, it's a much lower price ticket than if you were to leave and go into New York. So they're not anticipating any ridership decline as a result.
Thank you. My next two questions are for the working group. If you can please provide a project on the timeline on the Bridgeport road safety projects. I know we have East Main Street, we have Stratford Avenue. I know we have some significant projects that are on the pipeline. And secondly is I'm hearing from the Greater Bridgeport Transit that they're experiencing a $7 to $10 million loss. If there's any way, if that's federal, if that's something that's happening on our side, if you could provide clarification on that here if you can, or during a working work group. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So I can comment on that. We can talk further in the work group, but that is something that I think almost every transit district is either going to face. This year, I think GBT is the first one to face it, but all of them will be facing that. That's what we will be talking about. You see that in our budget request, an increased appropriations request to pay for bus services on the CT Transit side, because we are losing those federal COVID funds that were used to fill the gap when we lost ridership. So, yeah, we can talk further in the work group.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Rosario. Representative Nuccio.
Thank you, ma'am. So I have a couple of questions on, one, can you tell me how much of your workforce is paid for by the federal government in both FTEs and if you happen to have it at some point total salary? And is the salary that is reflective here in PS just the state portion?
Yes, so the appropriations, the PS line is just state funded. So in terms of who's paid for, so about 70% of our salaries are funded by PS, and 30% is paid for with a combination of federal funds. And it's difficult to nail down who. I'm paid for entirely by state funds, but if the way they do their work, if an engineer is working on a project, if they're coding their time spent, like, billable hours towards a federally funded project, they can fund a portion of their labor costs towards that federal project. So it depends on each day who's coding to what, but when you look at total labor costs, 70% is state funded, 30% federally funded.
And when the state increases their wages through contracts and that, does that change that 70%, or does the federal government still just pay the 30% of what the wages are?
So the federal government will always pay a certain percentage. So like a project, let's say I'm replacing a bridge there, they can pay up to 80% of that bridge cost, the total cost for design and construction. And so when an employee charges to that, they can charge essentially 80% of their time for that hour spent working on it would be federal, 20% would be state. So it will, as their state wages go up, the amount the feds pay will go up as well.
I thought so, okay. And then, you have increases in all of the, whether it's rail or bus or the ADA transit. And I wasn't sure if that kind of got back to your ARPA question there, but specifically on the rail, I noticed you have an $8.8 million savings by flipping Shoreline East from electric, which we know is crazy in this state, to diesel. Are there any other opportunities? Are there any other electric trains that we could flip to diesel and see a savings like this? Because 8.8 million is a pretty significant savings.
It is, and so that is because to use Amtrak territory, you have to pay them not only to use the tracks, but if you use the overhead wire, you have to pay them to use that as well, plus pay the electricity. So it's a federal law, and it's based on formula. And so this was, we were asked to find savings. This was, we believe, to be the most, appealing one to not have to cut service anywhere in the state, but find savings. And so we can use diesel equipment there. On the New Haven line, because those are our overhead wires, we actually don't have to pay an access charge to use those. And you can't bring diesel equipment into Grand Central Terminal. So none of the New Haven line trains can be converted over to diesel, because then they would not be able to go into Grand Central. But the Danbury branch, the Waterbury branch, Hartford line, all already are in diesel sets.
Okay, and I will have other questions if there aren't any.
I
Thank you.
don't know that there's gonna, anybody else have any questions? Senator Hartley, followed by Representative Reyes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, Commissioner. Thanks for being with us as we start this round again. So I just noticed here the line item for highway planning and research is, oh no, I'm sorry, it's the one up above it. The equipment line, you've got a bump of 58%.
So we, each year we request an adjustment in equipment because costs go up to pay for laptops and other equipment that we use, so largely technology equipment. That line has been flat for over a decade, I believe, while costs continue to increase, and we've had increased staffing. Do you want to talk about what this specific increase will go to, Gary?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to the committee for having us. The equipment budget is primarily used to purchase equipment for agency operations, whether it be technology equipment or sometimes larger purchases. In this particular case, we're looking at having to deal with upgrades to a lot of our technology equipment for the agency, whether it's laptops, servers, and things like that. The costs on those have gone up dramatically over the years. We haven't had an increase in this budget, and we've been struggling to try to get by with a lot of the improvements that we need to make and with outdated equipment. And particularly, we had almost an expiration, if you would, of laptops due to software issues with Microsoft over the last couple of years that we've had to catch up with a lot of these things. So this is going to be a level setting of that account that really needs to be done, that will afford us the opportunity to continue to stay ahead of and stay even with all of the purchases we need to make equipment-wise. And some of those other equipment purchases aren't just for that. They're also for our sign shop, for a new sign maker, or different things that we have across the agency. Testing equipment that we buy in the lab. It's for our the truck for the our.
Yeah, we have a truck that goes and monitors with LiDAR and radar and cameras at every square inch of pavement in the state every single year, and that ages out. So last year we had to purchase new equipment for that van because it was very dated. So that feeds essentially what we have to provide to the federal government in order to get our federal funds each year. We have to provide this data from our roadway inventory each year.
So it's not exclusively technology. It goes across the whole span of all the different equipment we might need that are operational pieces of equipment that aren't our trucks and snow plows and highway equipment, which is a separate budget through bonding.
I get it. So none of this is, for example, purchases of cars and upgrades of technology to those cars, that kind of thing. This is all IT.
It's IT, or for instance, in our materials testing lab, some new equipment to do testing of pavements and core samples, or surveyors who need their new survey equipment to go out, things like that. So it's as some of the handheld and other equipment ages out, but it's not our snow plows or trucks and things like that.
Okay, thank you. So that just begs another question. Is the department using AI in terms of any of its operations, maintenance issues, that kind of thing?
We are slowly. So we've always been using for several years now, been using like large language models. So before AI was a buzzword, we were using it to help make determinations on identifying hotspots where there's a lot of crashes occurring and what the type of safety issues might be. So we worked with UConn to develop a model that would feed all the information in and pump out where should we be identifying and putting our resources. Same thing with our asset management system. We collect millions of data points about our assets, and we use an asset management system to identify where should we be prioritizing investments to make the best value for taxpayers. In terms of AI, like people think about for ChatGPT or things like that, no, not yet. We did, DAS Bits did provide a license, a pilot license for a few of our staff to play around with Microsoft Copilot in like a contained environment to see how it could help us do our jobs. But other than that, we aren't using. We don't have the funding or the resources right now, or necessarily the training in-house yet to deploy something large scale like AI. But we use large language models to make decisions about a lot of things. So, for instance, snowplows inside each truck and in front of each truck, and weather sensors around the state. They're collecting data points, and that's helping feed recommendations to our drivers and to our leaders in the garages about how much salt should you be deploying, when should you start plowing, because it's taking all that data and making decisions, recommendations for our team, and then we look at the conditions on the ground and say, yeah, okay, let's start deploying salt now because the conditions are changing. So it helps us do our job, but it's not the AI people think of.
Understood. And between the lines then, is this something that the department is going to begin to bake into its entire operations as we go forward for efficiencies on really all levels?
Yeah, I think it's the way we have to look to do business. What we found with the few staff who did get to use some of those pilot licenses to use the tool, the Microsoft Copilot tool, they found it was a breath of fresh air because it could help them do a lot of the administrative tasks they're spending a lot of time on, and let them get back to doing the job that they went to school for, get back to doing the engineering that they're excited about, and not have to focus on transcribing all the meeting minutes they do after every meeting, and crafting various emails every single day. It can help them do their job, and free them up to be more efficient doing the real heavy duty work they went to school for.
And that's the intended purpose. Yes, thank you. And I must relinquish the mic to the Madam Chair, but I would leave you with these two things. I would like in the work group subsequently to talk about the mix master in Waterbury, in particularly with the input that has been brought to you by the community about the movement and the changes on those exits. We need assurance that we all still are on the same page and that's being recognized. And then secondly, I would just like an update in that session about the Waterbury train station. We had a wonderful event there. I still have the golden spike in my car, actually. Just that we are on schedule and moving forward. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Reyes, followed by Representative Belinsky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Hartley just finished asking my second question, which was about the Waterbury train. So really kind of want to hear the update on that and what's going on there. They had some issues there with a frozen pipe, so I don't know how that affects the outcome of the progress of your particular project. If you could update me on we were scheduled to get X amount of new trains for that Waterbury line. Are they online? And if not, when are they coming online? And the third thing that I wanted to just ask you about quickly was, the state is responsible for cleaning state roads in the city of Waterbury, and we've had some like excess overflow, if you will, of snow. Um, do you guys come back on the second sweep or try to, I see these small plows pick up and put it on the truck and then take it out. Does the state do that work, or is that all responsible of the municipality?
So I'll start with the first two items, then I'll ask Paul Rizzo, our Bureau Chief of Highway Ops, to address the snow removal. And he can talk about the different patterns of removal we do. So station is on track. The interior waiting room project advanced, had that event to do the, not ribbon cutting or groundbreaking, but the spike hammering. This improvements to the station will begin this year to do the construction to the actual station platform itself. The trains, so we do have the order underway for 60 new train cars. Those are in the works, so we had a mock-up of what the interior will look like. We allowed the public to come and view it at New Haven Station, and the first delivery of that new train car will be the end of this calendar year, and then they'll begin to enter into service beginning in 2027. The first ones will go into service on the Hartford line because those are the oldest piece of rolling stock we have in the fleet. Once the Hartford line has their train cars replaced, then the Waterbury branch will have to work with Metro North, but the intention is Waterbury branch will get the new train cars as well, because those are old as well and need to be replaced. So all 60 are on track to be delivered over the next few years. First one going into service in 27.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And then Paul, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon.
Representative Belinsky, you're up. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was getting ahead of myself. I was telling somebody I was going to be someplace on time, but I'm not. I was rushing. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jerry.
Sure. Paul Rizzo, Bureau Chief of Highway Operations. Thank you, Representative, for the question. So yes, we go through the initial plowing, and then in areas where we need to do snow removal, we'll come back and do that. Most of that took place right after the big storm. But if there's specific areas that need to be addressed, if I could get those locations from you, we could look into that and see what needs to be done. If there's something that needs to be removed, we could work with the district out there and have it removed.
Appreciate that, and if you could share the number that people can call in or the email, that would be fine for future applications. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Right. Thank you.
All set, Representative? Representative Belinsky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to see you, Commissioner. I have to sort of half apologize. You were speaking about the Danbury line and the fact that diesels are not permitted in Grand Central Station. What's pulling those trains?
So diesel locomotives pull them, but they can't go into Grand Central Terminal with the diesel locomotive pumping. So they have to convert. It has to be what's a dual power locomotive, and convert over to third rail or some other form of electricity, because they can't have diesel fumes in Grand Central Terminal.
Okay. I guess the logical next question would be. That Danbury line used to be electrified top to bottom. And a predecessor, way before even Metro North got involved, made some really bad decisions. Are there plans to re-electrify that and shave 15, 18 minutes off of the trip and eliminate the transfer that occurs at South Norwalk?
So I wouldn't say there's plans to build that yet. So what we did do is we've initiated a study which should be wrapping up in the next several months, looking at what would it cost to electrify the Danbury, the Waterbury, and the Hartford line. And we're currently wrapping that up because we need feedback from the utilities in the area, because the utility companies are concerned they may not have the capacity on their grid to supply the amount of electricity needed. So we want to incorporate their feedback in the study, and then we'll be able to publish that. We are trying to future-proof the equipment we buy by purchasing dual power locomotives. So instead of buying just a diesel locomotive, we can buy a diesel plus either overhead wire or third rail capacity. So that way, or in some cases, Metro North is piloting battery backup, so that, you know, should that ever get electrified, we could still use the same equipment on that line. But for us, on the railroad side, on the New Haven line, Metro North service, the biggest priority for us are the movable railroad bridges. Multiple billions dollars worth of work that needs to get done before those bridges fail. So before we focus on new investments, we really need to get those bridges replaced so that service doesn't stop on the entire Northeast corridor. But we are doing the study that should be wrapping up in the next few months, and we'll be able to share that with this committee.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then my second question subject. I-84 that goes through western Connecticut between Danbury and Waterbury has pretty much looked the same for about 60 years, except the population has grown 2.5-fold, and the over-the-road trucks have exponentially increased because our railroads, our freight railroads, are, you know, they're disappearing by the minute. Is there some hope you can help me share with my constituents? Because the crashes that occur in the kamikaze merges where the 3 lanes go to 2, in Danbury in the left exits and entrances, and then beyond that as well, you know, we even have it all the way, you know, through the Cheshire area with the left entrances and exits, and you're introducing 45-mile-an-hour traffic to a lane that's moving at 90. By the way, my trip in yesterday was the most frightening trip I've ever taken on my way to work, because I think I was the only person not going 90 miles an hour, weaving in and out, and every time I looked in my rearview mirror, I could see a windshield, but I couldn't even see the grill of the car. The folks out there are so aggressive, and I just sort of think that if we weren't tying them up in Waterbury and we weren't tying them up in Newtown, we're like the Waterbury of the West now. It's every single day. And it's not just that aggravation, but it drives 84 traffic and an ungodly number of trucks through Sandy Hook Center. Is there a study planned? And can we look at that? Because I gotta believe that it's a tremendous deterrent to our growth economically in western Connecticut. Anybody who is planning to live in our neck of the woods or buy a business in our neck of the woods, if they drive there during the day, they might change their mind. And it's hard.
You know, Representative, I totally understand the negative impact that you know, constant congestion can have on a community and their economy. So there is hope. We have finalized the planning study for the first project we want to do in Western Connecticut on I-84, which is in Danbury on doing what's called a flex lane. So building out both sides of 84 in the Danbury region to utilize the center medians to be what's called a flex lane, a dual use lane. So many times of day it will be closed. If there's rush hour traffic, a crash in another lane that's causing congestion, high volumes due to the holiday traffic, you would have the ability to have signs opening that lane for traffic to be able to travel and use like a normal lane. So you're essentially adding an additional pass-through lane at certain times of day to, you know, undo that, you know, the bottleneck there. That will give us time to alleviate a lot of the congestion that occurs in that region, while we then look to address the interchange for Route 7 there at 84, where we have significant problems with the lanes entering, and the interchange there where 7 and 84 mess up and cause all the problems. That's a lot of weaving going in and out, and what we see, a lot of the congestion is not necessarily due to capacity problems all the times. A lot of the congestion can be caused by hard braking, which then has a ripple effect. So that would be the first step.
Tailgating and,
Yeah.
yeah, stoppages are not because of traffic volume, they're because of bad behavior.
So that's one of the, that planning study was complete. We're moving it into the environmental stage so that we could go into construction in the next couple of years. We have a legislative proposal that we would need first before we can do that project. That's before the Transportation Committee this session, hopefully. And so we can do a briefing for you on the Danbury 84 project as well, if you'd like. So.
The Danbury 84 project is a secondary concern of mine. We have that space between the Rochambeau Bridge and exit 11, and then we have another space between exit 10 and exit 9 going westbound that both involve hills, and in the case of the Rochambeau egress, an unnatural dogleg to the right. Thank goodness FedEx trucks aren't falling onto local streets anymore, but the braking, it stops there every single day, and it could be 24 hours a day. It's a random thing depending on the reaction of, sometimes just one driver. The geometry isn't working.
Well,
and I would just invite you to come to Newtown and speak with my neighbors, because we've been begging for solutions to the backups and also for sound protection, which comes with a third lane for my entire 14 years. And
There are things you can't change in that.
We'll definitely come out and meet with you and
Please,
your constituents. I do think the Danbury piece, even though it's further away, anything you do to address congestion in one geographic location along the same throughway
Yes.
will have ripple benefits further down the line. It may not be immediately apparent, but we do think it will have some, it won't solve all the problems, but it will have some ripple benefits down the line.
I would agree with that, but my neighbors and I, we already know how to get to Danbury without the use of 84. It's the flow through traffic that bleeds out onto our local roads that creates a quality of life problem. In addition to the engine combustion braking of every single truck going down Main Street when 84 is backed up, and those people that live in those historic homes have to be shaken out of bed. I'm sorry for being a laundry list, but it's we'd love to see you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Nuccio?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple more questions regarding the budget here. As I mentioned in my last question, you have increases in rail, increases in bus operations, and increases in the ADA paratransit. You had mentioned something about COVID funding that was going away, so you're increasing. I don't think we have time now to go through it, but can you please bring to the subcommittee meetings? I'd like to understand why exactly these are increasing, and if you are supplementing ARPA funding or something like that, can you please provide what funding was provided, how you were using it, and what this is going to do now? Just because all of them seem to be increasing.
Yeah, absolutely. Costs have gone up to provide all the labor and materials and equipment. Costs have gone up to provide all the services in the state. So this represents that, but we have details on exactly for each year how much COVID funding has been used to fill the gap where the lack of appropriations hasn't been able to provide that state subsidy, because in some cases, You know, we use like over 200 million a year to prop up the public transportation system using federal funds when there was a lack of riders. So it's been titrating down, and this is what we're starting to see. But we'll bring the details.
Is ridership upticking, or is it still titrating down?
Ridership is upticking, but it's not back to where it was in 2019.
So you still feel like we have to be supplementing
Well, either that or we cut service. Yeah.
or increase fares?
Yes, which we did last budget. But
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, if you can bring all that information and like those points, like what we would have to do, up, down, et cetera, I think that would be useful, because this is, you know, you're talking 20, almost $30 million in increase here for the subsidy. So I'd like to understand that.
Yeah, and we can show what next year's increase would be too.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you. I mistook what the equipment was for. You're saying it's for IT. I like to see roadside mowers and sweepers and those kinds of things. Where do we stand on those?
So those are all paid for out of their capital budget.
Okay.
And so we've been, the legislature and the governor have been very helpful with us upgrading our entire fleet. Paul Rizzo can come up and talk about that, but we continue to get great funding levels to replace a lot of the trucks with modern equipment. We are finally reaching the point where we are retiring a lot of mowers that are 20, 30, 40 years old. Do you want to talk about where we are with equipment?
Yeah, so we've been,
You just got to say your name again.
I'm sorry, ma'am?
You have to put your name,
Oh,
say your name
Paul
on sign.
Rizzo,
Yeah,
Bureau Chief
thank
of
you.
Highway Operations. Yeah, we've been very appreciative of, you know, the legislature and the money that's been provided for equipment as we, over the past few years, have been upgrading all of our equipment, and yes, mowers and sweepers and payloaders and trucks, all that is part of it. Within the next year, we will have turned over the majority of our fleet to, you know, very all new equipment. You know, and they, you know, our whole plan is to, you know, keep our larger trucks around 8 years, turn those in. We're getting very good resale back. When we turn them in, we get money back towards the purchase of new. So that's the plan for all of our equipment. Mowers, sweepers, and we have a list of what we're purchasing and what we have right now. We can provide that to you.
That would be great.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm a fan of roadside mowers. I really like to see sweepers out there, particularly before Memorial Day parades. I don't know about this winter, but before Memorial Day parades, so that the roads are, you know, look great for us remembering our veterans. There were two things that we had put in the budget that were taken out, and and both of them I'd like to see us put back in. So for the chairs of this subcommittee, one is you have a memorial for fallen DOT workers on the job. You have it at the central office. I'd like to see something more formal than that. So for the subcommittee, I do have it, but for the subcommittee, if you could bring that information, because it seems to me that we should be really respecting the workers, and we do have fallen worker memorials for other state agencies, and I think that you're on the highways all the time, and you've had an unfortunate circumstance over the last couple of years, more than one time, and I'd like to see us remember them, not just with a couple of cones in your central office. Looks nice. I think that we could do better. And then the other one is we have a number of homeless encampments that you have been responsible to clean up. You've been using your OE for that. I'd like to see us put a actual line item to understand what that is. And the encampments, my understanding is the encampments also have some things that have to be cleaned up that might be dangerous, like needles and other things that might get left behind. I'd like to understand what it would take to clean them up and what you're seeing around the area. And then if you have to put fencing up to stop people from going to a certain area over and over again. I'd like to understand the cost of that so that we can put that into the budget also. Makes sense to me if we're gonna require you to do some things that we actually put the money in the budget for you to accomplish doing them. So those are things that I would like to see. And does anybody have any other questions or comments?
Yeah,
Huh?
well,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, I'm not sure if I asked, but I don't think I did. If you can also provide all of your line items, a high level of what they are, breakout by, you know, who it's serving, what the programs are, and any kind of metrics that you have for that, I would really appreciate that. And I don't know if Tony asked about the OE.
Tony was not here.
So we've been asking to see a breakout of, like what Senator Austin was just saying, what are you paying for in OE? If you can give us like a detailed list of what you're paying for in there, that'd be great.
So you want like categories of pieces of OE, like office supply? Okay, yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
absolutely. We have
Like
that.
if utilities is in there, if you're doing like the homeless encampments, if you're running a program through there, or there's any kind of legislative driven dollars or anything, like just kind of like of this 63 million, here's how it breaks out. Thank you.
All righty. That's all we have, Commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you.
Have a nice day. I almost said night, but it's not really quite night yet. Okay, everybody, we're gonna jump off of this link to go on another link at 2:30 for Veterans and Military Affairs. So we're ending this subcommittee.